Hi, I'm Phil Vincent, and I'm sitting here with Doug Grove. And Doug and I, along with Mike Corrigan, are the authors of Multidimensional Education, a common sense approach to data-driven thinking. And Doug, in chapter 1, we really wanted to start addressing some of the myths of education. And one of the myths that we addressed was the use of data. And literally, data, data, data. Got to have lots of data. We need more and more data.
Yeah.
Why is that a myth?
Well, you know, one of the ironies of data is that, and you could say data too.
I'm from the South.
I know.
Data.
It's
okay.
data in the South?
Data in the South,
Okay.
yes.
It's data in California.
Is it? Well.
So I'm going to go with data. One of the myths of data is that we don't have enough of it. And the issue of that myth is with the kind of technology we have today, with the ability to collect the information we have, with every school and every large school district or even small school district having the capacity to house data in a database, we have plenty of data. And the real myth is that we don't have a structure or a framework to use the data. What we might do is we might give teachers a bunch of different reports, stacks and stacks of paper, or a bunch of PDF files in their email inbox, and we tell them they need to look at it and they need to drive instruction, but we provide them with no framework to do it. We just pile the data on them and say, you know, figure out how you need to make some decisions. The other issue with the data thing too is that even the capacity of principals and the capacity of leaders to really use data and to train other people and to guide other people with data really isn't there. So the myth is that we, you know, have plenty of data, and the real myth is that we don't have a framework to use the data, and that's where we need to get. We need to get to a place to where we can provide the data that's needed, and we can provide a conversation that allows that data to be useful.
Well, one of the issues is with data, and we're collecting data, it has to do with teacher evaluation. And there's two things, two notions sometimes. Well, teachers do not need to be evaluated at all using any data, or teachers can't be evaluated using data. So where are we on that? How do we evaluate ourselves as professionals?
Yeah, I think if you're in the camp that teachers don't need to be evaluated, you know, you need to kind of pick up the latest, you know, educational newsletter or educational journal or something, because what you're seeing is that teachers are going to be evaluated. You know, I think if you're going to try to sit in the camp and say we don't need to be evaluated, we're in a different time, and you're going to be evaluated. As far as how we're going to evaluate teachers, I think, you know, we have the notion of these value-added models and looking at specifically test scores to evaluate teachers. And I think that is a myth, because teaching is a lot more than just test scores. And you would have to ask yourself, does a test score capture everything that a teacher does and everything that a teacher brings to the classroom? And I think you'd be pretty short-sighted if you were to say that, yeah, a test score captures everything that teacher does. I mean, that's a real myth. And I think one thing beyond just the teacher evaluation piece is, if we're going to evaluate, isn't there a notion that we should also be able to help that teacher improve? And, you know, how is looking at a summative test score going to help us improve the instruction of that teacher? If we really want to improve the instruction of that teacher, we need the evaluation early in the year when the teacher just starts teaching. And it needs to be diagnostic so that we can take some steps to then help that teacher improve. Because by the end of the year, it's done. The kids have gone through the class, they're moving on to the next grade, and that teacher never got any remediation.
It's almost as if using test scores may be necessary, but it surely isn't sufficient for what we need to do to truly provide the feedback and help improve instruction.
Yeah, I agree. We can't throw test scores out. You know, there's still a valuable component of looking at test scores. It's something we're going to have to continue to look at. But it's not the whole, you know, it's not everything. And it's not complete. And it certainly is not going to help a teacher from, you know, October to November improve their ability to teach math, because we recognize through a good evaluation system that they're not doing a good job. And that we can get them some remediation, and maybe by January or February we can improve their math instruction.
And of course, one of the other things that I think is interesting is the idea that we will have 100% proficiency. That literally all kids are going to Beulah Land, that everything's going to be perfect. We're all going to be at the finest schools in the country, whether they're vocational, technical, where everyone is going to be proficient.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of run the gamut on either crying or being angry at that notion that No Child Left Behind gave us of 100% proficiency. It's not going to happen. We know that. And to a certain extent, I think for some educators, it's been a very defeating proposition that, by 2014, which we're coming up on, and now there's talk that we'll have waivers for states that can't make it and things like that. It was always a fallacy to begin with. What we know about intelligence and what we know about test scores is we're going to see some kind of a normal distribution of test scores. Intelligence is normally distributed. And we have some people that are, average intelligence, that's most of us. We have some people that are on the very high end and are very intelligent, and then we have some people that are less intelligent. And I think the sooner we can come to grips that intelligence or even proficiency is going to have a more of a normal distribution, the better off we are in education talking about these things, not only amongst us as educators and teachers, but also with kids. Helping kids understand that, we do have differences, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that some people are going to be more proficient or more intelligent than others. And that's just a consistent message that we need to get out there.
Yeah, I think that's so. And we do address a couple other fallacies of education within the book. But there's also one other thing I want to point out. I think it is data, and I'm going to tell you why. Data was a character on Star Trek, the second generation. And that's something we need to do. So my friend, live long and prosper, but it